I look, man. I've been bugging. I've been trolling Daddy about this. I told her, hey, you ain't ready for this. You ducking me. We're supposed to do this like probably 2 3 days ago, but we here now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give our top five gaming consoles of all time.
All time, bro.
Yeah, man, of all the gaming consoles out there, man, there's a lot of them, but Daddy probably gonna go. m- He's lived longer
I'm
than I
not.
have.
I'm not going to the Atari. I'm not going to like a 3DO. I'm not even going to do a PSP or Atari Lynx. I could go to man. Listen, I could go to the Game Boy Color. It's like I could
Wow.
shit, man. But I'm not going that far, man. I'm gonna stick to the basics, man. But these are some iconic systems. So I'm gonna start first, man. I'm gonna go at number five for me. I'm gonna go from 5 to 1. So at number five, it was a split between the Super Nintendo, the SNES, and the Sega Genesis, man. It was like to walk in somebody's house and they got Altered Beast, they got Double Dragon, they got Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition on the Sega Genesis. But the Super Nintendo also had Super Mario World, one of the greatest games ever. That yeah, super yeah. Nintendo had Mario 1, Mario 2, Mario 3. We got the fourth installment with the and as a matter of fact, it came with the Super Nintendo. That was the flagship game that launched with the system. I think the Super Nintendo definitely gonna edge out the Sega Genesis just because of Mario World alone, F-Zero, Star Fox, all the games that came along with that great system. So number five for me is the Super Nintendo, slightly edging out the Genesis.
You, you want me to go my number five, or are you gonna keep going?
On you, your number five.
Okay, my number five. I'm going with Sega Genesis, man.
Oh, see, okay.
Um, Sega Genesis, man. It's very I think it was a very underrated console, man. Because I think during that time you were competing with um Super Nintendo, and I don't think PlayStation was around yet. And one of their more iconic, popular games, man. When you think of Sega Genesis, man, you're gonna think of that Sonic the Hedgehog game, man. I think that's
Yeah,
I think you're gonna always remember that. Now
Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage. They
Streets
go
of
hand in hand with that
I
Genesis,
don't
bro.
know, man. Maybe people in the fighting game world may say, okay, Streets of Rage, but if you're talking about overall impact, I think Sonic that was
No,
just
Sonic. No. Sonic is number one. I'm saying I would think right after Sonic would be Streets of Rage.
oh yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with you on that. But Sega Genesis, man, it was just one of those systems that you cannot forget though, man. And it definitely is in the top five, man. I think it should be in anybody's top five if you
For
mentioning
sure. Yeah.
Sega Genesis. Let's go
All
to
right.
number four.
And so look, and I told you I was almost gonna put the Sega Genesis at my number five. It was that close, but again, I edged out Super Nintendo. So number four, I'm going with the Dreamcast revolutionary system. You got the controller with the cartridge that goes in the controller slot for save memory, save games. You could then take that cartridge out and go play at somebody else's house with your save memory. The controller was a revolutionary. They had all the classic fighting games. In fact, I've got to go buy me a Dreamcast, bro. I've been putting it off. I'm like, nah, I gotta stop playing and go get me an actual Dreamcast. So that's my next purchase. But yeah, we got Third Strike, Street Fighter Third Strike. You got the CBS 2. You got all the classic fighting games. I think you have Project Justice on there as well, if I'm not mistaken. The Dreamcast was revolutionary, and I believe that was NBA. Oh, I forget the title. But the Dreamcast is my number four system. It was so ahead of its time, and it did fail. They never brought it back out. I don't think we got a Dreamcast 2. And I think after that failed, Sega kind of went out of business in terms of making systems. And then they just started just only doing games only. But that's my number four, man, is the Dreamcast.
Okay, my number four, man, I'm going with freaking Xbox 360, man. Um, I I was not a fan of the first Xbox, but the second one, the 360 one, it was just something different. This was like the first time where you seen like a standalone platform where you had it was crisp, clean, high definition graphics, and it was the first time since uh th- they had it in the PC world, and I like how they Microsoft created this and implemented this. I think that in January when they first launched it, they had over 17 million people on that Xbox platform, and and the Xbox 360 it had a little bit of everything from this fighting games, sport to first person shooter. I think that's when Halo, man, started becoming popular. Halo became popular because of Xbox, man. I think those two is always gonna be together, man. When you think of Halo, man, you gotta think of Xbox, man. And I think the 360 did it for me. So I got that number four.
Yeah, not a bad choice, man. I'm going a little bit backwards because at my number three spot, I'm going with the original Xbox, and this is due to the fact that you got this. And I know a lot of people didn't really like the controller because it's probably the biggest controller of any system ever. I think it is number one. However, it was comfortable to me. That was where you got the first Halo game, the very first Halo. You also had the Splinter Cell series debut on that platform. You had the Pandora, I think it's Pandora's Tomorrow, whatever. Uh yeah, the Splinter Cell, Halo, they had the Fight Night series on there as well. The sports games. The first Xbox, it was a big old clunky, you know what I'm saying? Maybe the design wasn't, ergonomic or wasn't pleasant to really have this big old clunky black square system in your house, but you knew when you looked at it, it was a beast of a machine, and it looked like, no, that's some serious hardware right there. You felt like this is quality. It's quality made. You can't. It's not brittle. You ain't gonna, like, if you drop it, it's not gonna crack. Yeah, man. That first Xbox was yeah, man. That's my number three.
Okay. So, all right. So my number three, I'm going with the Nintendo NES, man. I think Nintendo NES definitely changed the game. A lot of people would have it a little bit higher. I just have it off of three, just based off of my experience with when it comes to gaming. So I'm not gonna, you know. So when Nintendo came out, it was crazy with the handhelds, man. You remember the Nintendo Game Boy handhelds? And I think they definitely changed the game when they brought the in-home system. I think when they came out with the in-home system, they changed it and it made things very different, man. You always gonna remember Super Mario's, Donkey Kong, just games like that, man. And Nintendo had a huge impact in the gaming world, and I think it set things off and it made other systems wanted to be better and improve their systems and consoles also. And obviously Nintendo kind of jumped it up a notch with other systems later down the years. So Nintendo, man. You gotta have Nintendo NES, man. There's no way. And they even brought it back also with the small little consoles also. So I'm putting the Nintendo NES in there.
Yo, yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And as a matter of fact, uh, because of the Nintendo the NES, the SNES. Oh, you meant the original NES.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's high up. That's high. I thought you were talking about the SNES
No, the NES. I'm just going off of
because
my experience
with
because you
the
may have you.
cartridges, the car, everybody had to blow
Mhm.
the dust out of the cartridge to get it to work. You had Super Mario. I mean, not, yeah, you had Super Mario Brothers, the Zelda, so many classic games. Duck Hunt that came with the system.
Mm.
Yeah, man. So anyway, moving forward, man, we going at my number 2 pick, which easily could have been my number 1. It was close, but I'm going with the Nintendo 64. Here you have a
Wow.
revolutionary game system where you got 4 controller ports on the front face of the system. 4 friends could play together at once. And then you had the game that really changed everything for the first person shooters, which was GoldenEye 64. You could not, I don't know anybody who don't even, I don't know nobody who in the gaming world either they didn't play it or they haven't never heard of it. You've heard of it. You've heard of the fucking Golden Eye. Not only that, but then they had the Super Mario 64. Then they had Castlevania 64. Now you have 3D, you have full 3D graphics where you move games from, oh man, a 2D plane. Now remember, this is before the Xbox. You go from a 2D plane to a 3D graphic field, and you get I believe, oh man, there was so many great games, man. But that Castlevania 64 had some of the best music ever in any video game. And that's my number 2, man. The 64.
Okay, my number 2, man. It's the PlayStation 2, man.
Mm.
This was outside of what happened with PS5. This was the best selling video console ever. More than 130 million units sold by the end of 2008, and it was history. It was impactful. It definitely changed the game because during that time the DVD format, compared to the cartridges, they that's how they started it. I mean, obviously Microsoft had a huge involvement also, but they changed the game and they destroyed what VHS was doing during that time also. And this was not only huge for PlayStation, but it was huge for the company of Sony also. When you look at Sony, man, one of those their biggest accomplishments for the Sony company was bringing out PlayStation, and the PlayStation 2, man, was nasty, man. You look at how small the PlayStation 1 was, and then when they brought the PlayStation 2, they had that black box. Everybody loves things in black. Definitely updated on the controllers also with the dual shocks. Um, I like what they did play with PlayStation 2. One of my biggest memories from PlayStation 2 was the Tekken game. They had the Tekken Tag Team Tournament. I thought that was dope also. Obviously, I was into sports during that time, especially with the PS2 games with freaking NBA Live, the Madden games. That was a huge moment in time for me, and I never been so stuck on a video game console as much I was with PS2, man. I was playing that every single day, man. Definitely enjoyed it, man. PS2 is always gonna live in history, and I don't think people will ever forget that.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the PS2 because at my number 1, the PlayStation 2, bro. For all the reasons you just named, you're talking about something that literally changed the industry. The design, those DualShock controllers are actually still in use today. All they did was they just update them, but they are just another remake of the original DualShock. You get what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
the controller was revolutionary. The games, I believe this is, oh my god, man. There was so many. The first of all, the game library on the PS2 is probably unrivaled. I don't think there's another system that has a better library of games. Oh my god, we could really sit here and go through the library, and we probably name about at least 300 classics, bro. Like you said, it was it was something that was just became a part of your life, and becoming, because it was one of the most bought systems ever, well sold, what'd you say, 130 million units
Yeah.
worldwide. It's like everybody around the world had one, or they knew somebody that had one. It was pure domination. It's obviously, yeah, that's got to be the best system of all time, bro. That, to me, that's number one system ever. Even though it might not be my personal favorite system ever, I just have to respect the legacy, the library. The games were fun, the graphics were dope, and I think the rest of the industry pretty much built themselves after, and they modeled themselves after that system and the games that it brought to the industry. Everything after that was, they looked up to the PS2. That's the number one system of all time, bro.
Um. Well, it's not for me, man. My number one system of all time, man. It is the Super Nintendo system, man. When I seen what they did with Nintendo, I was like, okay, this is dope, man. So when I was a kid, I found out that they were coming out with a new system and they call it Super Nintendo. When you think of Nintendo, then you add Super into it. I was like, yo, man, what can they possibly do? And then this what they did was they boosted the 16-bit graphics on there also. The soundboard that they had on that system also was crazy, man, and it just upgraded from everything. And during that time they were going against Sega, and I think during that, when that happened, they blew Sega out of the water, man. And Danny, I know you mentioned about like the gaming library. Yo, Super Nintendo, they had a crazy gaming library, man. From Final Fantasy, from Mega Man to Donkey Kong to Contra to who else? Who else? Obviously the fighting games, man. The fighting games basically set the tone for everything on there. From Street Fighter, Killer Instinct. What? Like, come on, man. I was so Super Mario Brothers, man. That was like so crazy, man. I nearly spent days trying to pass every single level on there, man. Saving it also. I just thought that Super Mario Karts also. I thought that was dope. Also, like that library was crazy. I mean, Donkey Kong. Um, that was dope. That dope time, man, and I loved it, and that's how I got addicted to video games because Super Nintendo. Like Nintendo was cool, but when Super Nintendo came out, I was actually more addicted to it and became more of a gamer, man. And Super Nintendo, man, it has a lot of memories that people use in today, like in music and even in battle rap. Like you look at the games that Super Nintendo has, you hear those games or characters in a lot of bars and a lot of music also. And Super Nintendo, I think, is always gonna live in history, man. I think when you talk about cartridge games, those were the ones, and theirs was a little bit bigger though, like a little bit more bigger though. But yeah, that's the number one gaming system for me.
I, I I can't say you're wrong, man. Because I'm gonna tell you something, man. because of the Super Nintendo, that's how I got my first ever run in with the law. It was because of a dumb decision I made. One of my friends, I'll never forget it, man. His name was Alex Vargas, man. We was in Paris, California. His dad, Street Fighter 2 had just came out. And they went and rented it from Blockbuster. Like he went and rented the game. I was such a Street Fighter addict because I remember just going to the donut shop and a little liquor store, and they had the Street Fighter 2 cabinets in there. And I would get a fucking $20 bill, get change from you know what I mean. They was mad at me too because I was coming in there with $20 bills, taking all their quarters, and I would spend all day playing Street Fighter 2. The game came out on the Super Nintendo. I stole the game from my fucking good friend. I broke into his house, stole it, broad daylight, got caught, and I went to jail. I had to do probation for like 3 years, and obviously I lost a good friend. That was the first and last snake thing I ever did in my life. That was the first and last thing I did that was like super grimy, and I stole from my own friend because I had a Super Nintendo at the house. I didn't have the Street Fighter cartridge, and I stole the cartridge that they rented. So yeah, that's how powerful the fucking Super Nintendo was. It made me go to a level of dark that I never went to before. And you brought up Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct had the black cartridge. They changed the color of the cartridge for that game specifically. They had the black cartridge, and I believe for Zelda they had a gold cartridge. You know what I'm saying? Like some certain games had the special limited edition color. And you remember, hey Keo, this is how slick Nintendo was. You remember the like you said, the first NES, we had the little cartridge. The Super Nintendos came with the little plastic cover that you put under, and it would protect the circuit board from the dust. So you can't be wrong with the Super Nintendo, man. You know, I wish to this day, I wish some of these newer generation systems would come with a reset button.
Yeah, that would be dope, man.
They got a reset button right there. If you look on the Super Nintendo came with the reset joint. Yeah, but it's between Super Nintendo and the PS2. Oh man. What do you have an honorable mention system that's like right outside of your top 5? Because I don't think neither one of us mentioned like the PS3, PS4, PS5. Or any handheld.
It got to be the PS5, man. The PS5 is my honorable mention because, man, people are still having a hard time to get that. Like when it first came out, dude, it was so hard to get. I nearly called every single store. Black Friday, you had to pre-order it. There was even a line on the internet where you actually had to pre-order everything. And I just never seen anything like that. Like they only had like a certain amount of copies that you could be able to get. And PS5, like that was so requested on demand. Like people still have a hard time getting that console right now. Like you got to go to certain websites just to get that console. You can't go purchase a PS5 at a store right now. There's no way. And if you do, I would be surprised.
I honestly, and now trust me, I know what you're talking about. I had to get my PS5 from somebody off of OfferUp. I had to pay $1,000 for it. They charged double. They charged double the price, and this was like the first week it came out. It was nowhere to be found in the country. And if you looked on eBay or somebody was trying to sell them for $1,200, $1,500, $2,000. And and I felt like, okay, 1,000. I know I'm being beat right now, but this is the only way you can get it. And like you said, that was the worst rollout ever of any system. That was the worst rollout of all time. I hope they don't repeat that when the PS6 drops and there's a shortage and you can't get them and people are fighting trying to rob you for your joint. But my actual system probably would be maybe the PS4, man. I think maybe the PS4 falls like right outside of the top five, but and I never was a PlayStation man like that. I was always a Nintendo Xbox dude. I was always against PlayStation until they made Street Fighter PlayStation exclusive. Once that became exclusive
Mm.
to the PS, that's when I switched over because that's like my favorite game. So it's like I gotta join the ops now. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, though you can't really go wrong with any one of those systems. But I'm definitely feeling like I gotta go and get me a Dreamcast now. But yeah, it was just so many memories. These games and these systems just kind of recall so many childhood memories. And even at my well, not old age, but even at 44 years old, I'm still playing your game. Now, I do remember there was a time where gaming was kind of like linked to childhood. But people have to understand we grew up with these systems. We grew up gaming. So that's just a part of your life that is kind of difficult to let go. And I do see benefits to gaming. It's like a stress reliever. It keeps you out of trouble, keeps you out of the streets, keeps your mind from having a idle mind. And it definitely is a good way to relax on the weekend. Some people don't even go out to the club and be hanging out in the hood with their homeboys. People get some free time, man. They turning their system on, they playing 2K, they playing whatever their favorite game is, and they chilling, man. So I don't think you can ever get too old for that. So that's all I wanted to say with that, man. I do think this was a dope show, man. We need to do more of these, man. We do need to do more of these. I think our next one, we probably should do top 10 games of all time.
Oh my god.
From any system, from any era, just your top 10 games, period. Now, you even if you want to categorize them, you just want to do like top 10 fighting games, top 10 sports games, or just mix them. We might have to, we are gonna do that. We're gonna break it down further, man. But this was our top 5 systems. That's what the Bar Gods top 5. That was Keo's top 5. Man, y'all let us know in the comments. What is your top 5 favorite system? Even if you don't have 5, just list your favorite system that you grew up with or you're currently still playing. Because like I said, this is a lifelong thing for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gaming is all types of people play games, man. The gangsters play games, the nerds play games,
The
the average people
rappers.
games, females play games, sports athletes play games. Gaming is just
It's
all
worldwide.
over the place.
And I remember they thought it was just going to be a fad and it was going to phase out, but it actually kind of became like, and I think at one point gaming had like made more money than the film industry. Like the gaming was bigger, and until this day, it's still. Think about this: when Grand Theft Auto 6 drops, there's no movie, there's no sporting event, there's no concert, music event. There will be no event in the world outside of you having a child. And even then, you might hold on, babe. Tell the baby to hold up. that Grand Theft or that GTA 6 just dropped. I'm finna go. I got to get in line and go cop that. Or you might be like, I'm finna keep playing this GTA 6. She got that baby bar damn self.
And now people have the opportunity to actually make money as a gamer also.
Facts. It has created jobs, esports,
tournaments.
People are making millions of dollars. Millions.
Mm-hmm.
The last Street Fighter championship was won by Yuma. He won $1 million at Capcom Cup, and they're doing it again this year.
In the sports world, everybody is always wonders every year. Hey, who's going to be on the Madden cover? Who is in the Madden cover? And the Madden cover is so crazy. They have something called the Madden curse because going by history, anytime anybody's on the Madden curse,
they got injured.
They basically have a bad year that year. So this year they got Christian McCaffrey on there. I don't know, man. McCaffrey's been playing good. Hopefully he doesn't have a bad season.
He gonna break the Madden curse. Um, again, y'all just drop y'all favorite system ever. We're gonna come back with this, and we're gonna redo it. We're gonna do the best games. We're gonna break
Yeah, best
because we could
games of
go
all.
so deep. Listen, we could go so deep with this. We could go best controllers ever, best games. Which game had the best soundtrack ever? You know, which game had the coolest character ever? It's so much shit we can do with this. We're gonna keep it going.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
be
Danny
back.
Eyes, the bar
We'll be
god.